If you grew up on Warped Tour, you know the sound that I'm talking about. Fast-paced pop punk, breakdown heavy metalcore, and just enough eyeliner to make your parents be afraid. But something happened. That sound, that entire scene, it just kind of vanished. So today, let's talk about what killed that Warped Tour sound with somebody that contributed to it heavily, Mr. Andrew Wade.
Thank you.
Can we get like some cheers and applause? Yeah. I meant for the camera guy, but you know, that still works. So when people talk to you about the Warped Tour sound, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so obviously I think a lot of people think of A Day to Remember.
Yeah, of course.
For the Warped Tour sound. And then what year of Warped Tour though, I guess. So
does it make a difference? I think
so, because wasn't like Katy Perry on Warped Tour?
But I don't think anyone ever attributed her to being part of the Warped Tour sound.
Oh, exactly.
So I think like
Neck Deep was big. I feel like that was part of like what made them blow up was how their numbers at Warped Tour.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, people would go crazy at their shows.
Back on this topic.
So yes, going back to the actual sound of it, I definitely instantly think pop punk type stuff. And what happened to that? I mean, the question then is, what happened to pop punk?
Yeah. I think that the first part of this is Warped Tour wasn't able to keep up with how much the cost of it was, and then Warped Tour died. And the one thing that was promoting most of the bands that was getting them through was Warped Tour, so then that sound also, it had an effect on it.
That is very true, because so Warped Tour definitely had a rough patch with a lot of like cancellations and accusations. Like a lot of that stuff stemmed from that scene for whatever reason. I don't know.
I do. It's because people in pop punk make music for an audience of people that are in an age group that are from like 14, 15 to maximum 18 years old, and that's the people that you end up being around when you play that kind of music.
That's true. I feel like that, plus like if that was a reason why, like if certain bands were getting canceled because of this or that happened at Warped Tour, and then they couldn't play Warped Tour, and then people weren't coming out, so like that could cause a financial burden on the tour itself. So I think Kevin Lineman, I think that's the dude that ran it, he probably was like, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore. Can't do this. So I do remember people would come in to the studio, certain bands, like, and say they wanted that Warped Tour sound. And since it's ended, no one brings that back up right now.
Yeah, the way they made it sound was like there was an amp that was like a Warped Tour amplifier, and like you just buy it and then like you sound like a band that's on the stage or something, or like, oh, it's like the Warped Tour sound. That's an SJC kit. You know what I mean? It's like
that's true.
Hey, what's up? I'm Pablo with Chelsea Grit. I've been with SJC for a few months now.
Maybe an orange amp?
Yeah, orange amps, SJC kits. That's kind of like what I think of when I think of like what they mean by that.
Probably RBI Sans amp.
Yeah.
That definitely was, that is very true. I think though there was like the pop rock type sound too. Like I think of All Time Low kind of.
Yeah, that. All Time Low.
And Pierce the Veil wasn't quite, they weren't really pop punk, but like they definitely had a huge, so I feel like when people did ask for that sound, it was kind of like all that mixed together sometimes. Like A Day to Remember is not always pop punk.
They're not.
You know what I mean?
The thing is this though, when it comes to Pierce the Veil, they are still punk. Like they have punk elements to their music.
Yeah, but it's part of the Warped Tour sound, is my point.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying the Warped Tour sound isn't exactly just pop punk. It's that pop rock and pop punk and all in between.
And then the heavier versions of it. And
I
then
mean, who's the heaviest that was on? Who's like the heaviest that was on Warped Tour?
Dude, wasn't Suicide Silence on Warped Tour? Am I tripping?
I don't know.
Like they had who was the heaviest band on Warped Tour? That's interesting. Bring Me the Horizon played Warped Tour, right?
Yeah, they were heavy as fuck back then.
Yeah, so like...
They had to have played.
Yeah.
They did, you know that for a fact?
I mean, I'm pretty positive.
It seems like...
Hold on, I'm about to fact check myself. You're about to... There's
heavy
no
bands,
way.
yeah, I would like to know what heavy bands are on Warped Tour. As like heavy shit now, it's very different. I feel like that has it's absolutely stood on its head with like, you know, pop punk kind of sinking down.
Okay, let's cook. Bring Me the Horizon played Warped Tour 2006, 2008, 2010, 2011, and 2013. They played every other year. Fun fact, only band, I believe, that played every single Warped Tour from the first time that they played it was The Maine.
The Maine is a good one.
Yeah.
The Maine is a good Warped Tour sound.
That's a Warped Tour band.
That was a band that a lot of people were trying to sound like, including the production, everything.
Keeps up the coast. As on your season day, when I'm happy, she's happy now. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Were they? Who?
What about Forever the Sickest Kids?
Forever the Sickest Kids?
I was
great.
big on that.
Cartel.
Ooh, yeah, Chroma was a
Dude,
great album.
remember they had that show where they lived in
the
like
bubble?
the clear house?
Yeah, in the bubble. Yeah, that was a dude. Who put the money behind that for Cartel to do it?
I think about that every once in a while, like it was, you know, like a fever dream. I'm like,
No.
That was Cartel? And
Yeah, and didn't they have to make a song in a day?
Yeah, they were doing it very fast.
Yeah, they had to make a song, the whole song, and do it in a day. And then after it happened, nothing happened with that band.
That's probably why I feel like it was a fever dream. Because,
Yeah.
like, all that
Usually,
hype, and then
yeah.
it's like nothing.
You would
at
think
the
that
end.
would propel somebody to like levels of epic proportions. Was it on MTV?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think
I remember it being like, it was definitely promoted well.
Yes. Like I was like, oh, Cartel, and I was like, after the like, they had Honestly and Say Anything Else.
Yeah.
They had those couples. You're getting up for the letdown. Yo, they were good.
That to me, that would you call that pop punk?
That's 100% pop punk.
For some reason, I don't think of it like
that's
that.
glossy pop punk though. That's like where you put like All Time Low, and a couple of other bands like, because if you
Where would you draw the line between pop punk and
Pop rock?
Pop rock.
Okay, I think that The Maine
Yes,
is the line
pop rock.
That is pop rock in my opinion. Like they're not pop punk.
Is it just the beat?
It's the guitar tone choices, because when we think of pop punk, and this is funny, we're going off on a tangent right now, but I guess we are talking about the sound of Warped Tour.
It is the sound of Warped Tour.
Okay, so pop punk, when I think of pop punk, the first tone that comes in my head is dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun. Like it's like
Iconic.
some 41. It's like, and that's heavier. That's heavier than like what people attribute a pop punk tone to being, like a Marshall. Like,
That's
you know what I mean?
true.
So
That's
like
true.
when we're thinking of pop punk and like generic pop punk, we're thinking of like Fall Out Boy, Take This to Your Grave. We're thinking of the earlier All Time Low stuff before they went like Nothing Personal and Dirty Work. So like Put Up or Shut Up and Let It Roll. Like that whole album, that was like pop punk. But then after that they changed. So I think how distorted your guitar tone was, when you have like a glassier like breakup tone is when it started leaning more to like pop rock, and also the type of choruses and what you're talking and singing about.
Could be. For some reason, I just kind of break it down to the beat. Because like, I feel like if that,
Yeah.
I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, think of that beat, but where the BPM, like you raise the BPM, suddenly it's in one genre, you lower it, it's in another one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's a tough one. What truly is pop punk?
Yeah. Neck Deep is generic pop punk.
Yeah.
Like that is when we think of like,
Yeah, they had
like that kind of pop punk. You know what? Another pop punk band that kind of has a defining thing, Yellow Card. Minus the violin.
Yeah, the violin puts it. That's a little bit of a curveball.
Yeah. The violin makes it a little weird.
It's like reggae versus ska, trumpets or not. Like which is which? Where do you draw that line?
Yeah. So
the big question is, where did that go? I kind of think, speaking of the beat,
yeah.
and this is just me, but I kind of think people got tired of that beat. Like I don't know, because like I feel like they just got sick of it. Maybe they never liked it that much in the beginning. So, and here's the thing, that beat makes way more sense in a live setting when you're in a circle pit.
Yeah.
And if that goes away, we're talking Warped Tour, then the genre goes away. You see what I'm saying? So the utility of the beat was in a live setting.
Yeah.
And if we're shifting, it's like, okay, well, Warped Tour's kind of gone, and that sound was Warped Tour, the live version of that sound gone. Maybe we don't care for that beat when we're just listening to it. So like we're moving more towards like streaming stuff and like lots of online stuff. What's good for online? I think like people do tend to like, well, today it's like way heavier stuff for some reason, but like also kind of more chill type things, you know, things that you can fall asleep to or drive to or whatever.
Lo-fi.
Lo-fi got huge for a second. For a second, lo-fi was popping off.
Yeah. Chill hop. But I will say, without question, that when Warped Tour died, that sound did not have a big resurgence in the show circuit. Like there weren't like big tours happening for those bands that like everyone wanted to go out to for festivals. The closest thing we had was When We Were Young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. How many years after Warped Tour was that? Was that right away, or was that a few years?
I think it was like a couple years later. I think so. And I mean, I'll be there this year.
That's the closest, but I think we have washed ourselves clean of that sound moving into these other tours. Like,
yeah,
I guess Warped Tour, and I mean, I think I know what it was. So bands tend to look towards other bands at their path of success.
Yeah, that too.
And if your path of success, and a lot of those bands in that scene, their path of success had to do with moving up in Warped Tour, having bigger and bigger crowds, bigger merch numbers, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are looking up to. And like, there's my business model. I see it right here. I can do the same. I can join Warped Tour. I can be this sound. I can follow that path to success. If that model disappears, then people are scrambling.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
who am I looking up to now? Who's doing well? You know what I mean? So like when we were young, it clearly is not going to be the same success model because it's starting over again. So there's nothing to even copy.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And it's not moving. You have to go to it.
That is true. That's a huge
It only
difference.
lasts for a couple days, and people are traveling from all over. There's only a finite amount of people that can even go.
Yeah.
Like Warped Tour was like, the audience was so huge because it was essentially, the show could sell out, but you could always just drive to another one and go see it. Like, and it would usually only be like a few hours away sometimes. And if you were really down for it, you would hop in a van and go, even if it was like a 6-hour drive. Like you would do it. Like I used to do stuff like that all the time. I think we could say that those couple things attributed to the sound, like the culture died of Warped Tour because Warped Tour disappeared and that sound disappeared, and it already had a very long run, and it was dying towards the end too. So had a good 20 years. Yeah.
And now it's back.
So there you have it, our take on what happens to the Warped Tour sound with somebody that was there. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time. And tap that bell for notification so when a video drops, you know the location. Until next time, my friends, we'll catch you later.